I welcome all my fellow panelists on this wonderful discussion. I think the topic is apt. Last two speakers spoke about technology and spoke about how technology can disrupt education. And I think the topic is apt because we live in a world where higher ed is yet to be disrupted with technology. So I think we're going to talk about whether it will be disrupted, what are the risks, and whether it should not be disrupted or not. So very quickly, my introduction, my name is Atul Khosla. I'm the founder and vice chancellor of Shoolini University. We are located in Himachal Pradesh. We believe we are deep tech centric, and we also believe that the future of the world will change with technology entering the higher education space. I think with that introduction, I'm going to speak a minute about my experiences with technology, and I'm going to probably leave three examples for all of you before I hand it over to my very esteemed panelists. The first is a small anecdote or a small joke. It's a joke about uh, three educationists or three leaders in different parts of the industry. One, a doctor, the second, an educator, and the third from industry. All three of them get into a coma 100 years ago, and they suddenly wake up in 2023. The doctor cannot recognize the operating theater. The industrialist can't recognize his manufacturing systems, but the teacher goes and picks up, in this particular case, the whiteboard pen, because the blackboard has changed to a whiteboard, and starts teaching. And I think that's the level of technology that has hit us. So that's the first one. Thank you. But let's change it, man. I think the second would be a piece of statistics. I was reading a recent report by McKinsey and Company, and that's my alma mater. I started my career with McKinsey. And it stated that in the scheme of different industries, the adoption of technology and AI is the lowest amongst universities in the world. So the extent of penetration of AI is as low as 4 to 5%, while it could be as high as 80% in financial services today. I go back 10 years when I used to be a consultant and I used to talk to bankers about technology and financial services. And they would say exactly the same thing. Technology cannot hit financial services. It's very human centric. We don't think we can go beyond ATMs, and that's the maximum. And we all know what's happened as far as financial services is concerned. I don't think we've been to a branch, any one of us, over the last so many years. At least I haven't. But also in terms of the way AI has hit behavioral models, etc. I think the third piece of evidence I'm going to give would be 25 years ago when McKinsey started transforming the State Bank of India. And I was a very young consultant over there working with the chairman of State Bank of India. And the first thing I remember what the chairman said was, computerization is fine, but what's going to happen to these hundreds of employees of SBI? How will I employ them? And I think that's again a discussion that keeps happening inside universities. What's going to happen to all these people if technology takes place? So I think with this, let me introduce the topic and let me give you my perspectives. If there is one industry that has yet to be impacted by technology, I think that's universities and higher ed. And I'm keeping edutech out for a second over here. I'm talking about universities for a second. If every industry of the world has got disrupted, what makes us believe that higher education will not? If capital is the same across the world for every industry, then why are we making big fat universities? I recently saw the IIM Nagpur campus, and very proudly we saw some beautiful buildings. Probably we spent thousands of crores in that, and we got someone from Niti Aayog. And I was asking myself, why are we wasting capital? Why do we need these huge monoliths, these Taj Mahals? That's my thought. You might be different. My panelists might have a different view. But the moot point I'd like to ask this panel is, if Google could beat IBM, which was the undisputed leader in technology, and now Google is also nowhere in the bigger scheme of things in technology. What makes us believe that Harvard and Stanford and Oxford are going to be the leading universities of the world in the next 10 years? And if that is the case, then why should we emulate and why should we try to copy a Stanford and make these big universities? Why would we not bring deep technology into university education? With that context, I would like to go to my panel and I'm going to ask questions. My request would be I would like to make it a conversation, so please make it a 2 to 3 minute answer. I would like to come to each one of you uh, for uh, uh, for 2 to 3 questions. And the first question is going to be Professor Jaiswal, who is leading management education at IIM Sambalpur. And of course, sir, being an IIM, you're in the cutting edge of management education. What I would like to hear from you on your views, and I'm sure with the audience, would be what is going to be the complexion of a university or an institute in 10 years? Is it going to be similar as today? Or do you think the institution is going to be different? And what type of disruption do you expect in education to happen? Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Honorable Chair and my fellow panelists. I also come from technology background, so I do understand the impact of technology. But more importantly, I would like to give the history of business and history of educations, because a lot of learning we do from the history. Till 16th century, India's economy, GDP, was world largest, 25% of the GDP share of India. And before that, in Indian educational institutions were also on the top, Nalanda and Takshila. 18th century, when we were part of British, first industrial revolution happened. And India's GDP dropped to 7% very soon. And Indian education system disappeared. And Cambridge and Oxford became the epicenter of educations. And UK was the epicenter of first industrial revolutions which happened around steam engine. 19th century was the core technology of the industrial revolution 2.0 was electricity and automobiles. And US became the epicenter of industrial revolutions. And Harvard, MIT, Stanford became the main education center. Then became 20th century. India was so free from British, 1947. The third industrial revolutions happened around information technology, computer science. India emerged as one of the leading countries in IT, definitely, like a lot of IT services companies started from here. Education sector is still not geared up in the third industrial revolutions, but now we are in the midst of fourth industrial revolutions, and where the technological epicenter is digital, and India is very much in the center of digital revolution. The top leading digital platforms are getting created in India, UPI, UID. They are created by government, but they are becoming global, leading players. And digital, not necessarily only in industry, it is also to do with the educations. As Atul just talked about how Indian educations or global education industries are going to adopt technology. I come from a digital background and I strongly believe it is a disruptor in a positive sense. Indian education system disappeared from the world market. Why? Because we became the teaching shops. We were claiming only degrees. We are hardly in the creation of innovation and knowledge. I think digital infrastructure today provides that, it forces that don't need to teach in the class. The teaching can happen on digital platforms. When you come to the class, I think you have to create knowledge, create innovations, create entrepreneurs. And that is the opportunity what Indian education system has now got. It is up to us whether we will be able to make sure that in next 20 years that we will be able to compete and outscore with Stanford, Harvard, and MIT.
So let me add to your discussion over here, Professor Jaiswal. Being a technologist or a technology-centric academician, 3 technologies that you believe are going to disrupt university education in the next 5 to 7 years.
The first technology which I feel is the biggest disruptor is ChatGPT AI. And we believe that AI and ChatGPT should be adopted in every institutions because that will replace the non-productive part of human talent. We should more focus on creation rather than distributions of the knowledge. ChatGPT is the best technology to distribute the knowledge, where the human brain is the best to create the knowledge. That is the one technology. The second technology is entire internet and mobile, right? We at IIM Sambalpur has already created that infrastructure that when we are conducting class inside the classroom, when we write on the board, not the smart board, simple board, and it gets converted into digital board, and you can attend the class from anywhere in any part of the world. In your mobile and laptop, entire notes of the teachers get recorded. So that is the disruptions, the second technology, which is in terms of the smart board. And the third technology is about the entire learning management systems. I think we should integrate the entire LMS and all the back office, ERP, everything as part of learning. These are the 3 major technology which we are already using at IIM Sambalpur. I would invite many of you to come and see that how we are disrupting the entire learning, and we believe that that is going to completely disrupt the entire learning in the.
Thank you, Professor Jaiswal. I will take your offer. So you'll see me at Sambalpur in the next 15 days, I promise you. This is the question to you, sir. And I'm going to go back to a discussion I had with Professor Mishelkar around 10 days back in Pune, where I was attending a G20. And he speaks a lot about pole vaulting, which is different from leapfrogging. And let me explain what he speaks about. He says that leapfrogging is about 2 to 3 times increase in efficiency, while pole vaulting is about 10 to 20 times improvement in efficiency. And the belief is that leveraging technology, India has got a unique opportunity to pole vault. I was doing the numbers at the back of the envelope. If we have to achieve a 50% gross enrollment ratio, so we will need $1 trillion for that. As a nation, which has got other priorities beyond education, I don't think we have $1 trillion. So do you think technology can play a great role to fundamentally change this $1 trillion to probably, $50 billion, for example, 20x improvement in efficiency? Or do you think technology will bring huge risk where we'll create students who probably are worse in the way they are taught and in their learning than the way they are today? What are your thoughts on it, and what are you doing at your university, sir?
Thank you, Atul, and I would like to thank Dr. Ravi Gupta also for his continuous effort. And every time in last 26 years, technology has been integrated more and more, even in this summit. Interesting question. Since morning, we were listening to the data, policies, aspirations of our government, what Honorable Prime Minister desires, what NEP speaks about. It speaks about 20x, 50x, and gross enrollment ratio we have to change completely. $1 trillion, I was talking to Dr. Shah when he said we are already 3.5 trillion economy. Definitely in education or in one sector, we cannot put it. I represent Shobhit University. We have 2 universities. One is a deemed university in Meerut, and one is a university in a small town of district Saharanpur, Uttar Pradesh, a village university I will call it. That's my native place, where it is. So I will look the perspective of both. When we say integration of technology in education, yes, at university level we can do it. But we have to look at the stakeholders also. Because new education policy talks about accessibility, it talks about inclusivity, it talks about many more things. When we sit in a five-star hotel, when we discuss in summits, when we sit in our offices, we talk about it, we use it. Like ChatGPT is one of my best intern I ever had in my 34 years. I'm using it intensively. There are many other technologies we all are using, but there are many challenges also, which has to be seen. Leapfrogging, fine, or frog leaping, or vault, whatever terms you use, pole vaulting, and all those things. But the main thing is we have to see that whatever we are talking, whatever we are doing, what we wish to do has to be one, very inclusive. It means all stakeholders, right from rural youth to tribal youth, where even basic education is a crisis now. Technology will help us to go there, but only technology cannot do. Because we have to understand one more thing, that ethical issues are also coming, as you said, what will be the quality. Oxford University has come up with a paper on that, a policy on that. They are talking about ethical issues and the challenges, and a complete detailed note has come out of that. Stanford is talking about it. In India, what is happening, like suddenly disruption came because Digital India, Pradhan Mantri ji was talking about, due to COVID. We all were forced to switch over to technology. Then we thought, okay, now we have become expert of that. There are many things which need to be addressed at grassroots level. As promoters, yes, we can talk, we can use, we can have every technology in our campuses. But if it is really helping the stakeholder, if it is really helping those who are supposed to be there, because with technology, our teachers have to become co-learners. If that mindset has been developed, do we have a pedagogy where a teacher becomes a co-learner, where he goes in the classroom, he says, okay, I'm not teaching, because you can have the details, the text, the presentations, PPTs, everything from the website. But we will discuss. We'll think, a critical thinking session will be there. We'll find problems, we'll work on the solutions. It has to be seen. And in India, still there are places where mobile is still a luxury, in spite of the fact that we have 120 crore mobile users.
Thank you. I think great thoughts as always, sir. My next question is to you, Professor Rai, and you are leading one of the most upcoming and exciting universities of India, UPES. But prior to that, let me again leave a quote over here. Einstein once said, if you do the same thing again and again, don't expect different results. He also said that if you try to follow someone, do not expect to be number one. At best, you can be a poor second. And that puts a question on the Indian university system. Somewhere we are trying to emulate the West. Somewhere we are trying to build universities aligned with the way we have learned from Harvard and Oxford, and we spoke about that, and so you spoke about the Indian educational history. So my dream of a university is very Indian, Gurukul in nature, but very deep tech in the way it operates. So my question to you is, what is your vision of an ideal university? And do you think India can produce some of the best universities of the world in the next 10 years?
Thank you, Atul. In three parts. One is I would like to thank IELTS for giving this opportunity and organize this program. The second part is, they say in management, there are two management educators sitting here, my senior and myself. We say, we tell our students it should be McKinsey class. So I will follow Atul by talking about two little stories which will enhance the topic which is there today about what are the perils and what is the advantage of going tech. I think we are all convinced about. So I was appointed as the CIO of Goa Shipyard. That was in the last part of the century, and Dr. Jaiswal was, of course, helping me out. Now, there were two kinds of experiences. When I got down at the Madgaon station and I was to take charge as the CIO, I found that there was about 100 people who came to stop me. handed me over an envelope saying, this is the ticket for the train in the evening and a booking for the hotel. Aap jaiye. Simon, go back. Right? We don't want any ERP implementation because the fear was, agar ye computer aa gaya, to hum logon ka kya hoga? What will happen to us? Like teachers feeling or students feeling, kind of these things have been emulated. This was one experience. So then anyway, I surpassed and my organization came to know the police patrol was sent. I was escorted to the Goa shipyard and took over as CIO. Then I met few of my officers, the general managers, deputy general managers. Now they welcomed me and said, "Sir, aiye," garlanded me. And then they said, "Thank God you have come." I said, "Okay, I got a different experience in the morning." So I wanted to know from them as to what do they think. Ab aap aa gaye ho, you will implement ERP, we will press this button and a ship will come out from there. We will press this button and a howitzer will come out from there. Now, these were the two different kind of expectations. Technology will not do. Technology will do what we want it to do. Chat GPT and all these things together, two stages. First, Chat GPT has to be told. As Peter Drucker said, there are no right answers, there are only right questions. So it is the question that you pose. And after Chat GPT, it is you who is supposed to assess and see whether it has come out properly or not. So with these two, I'm just trying to balance that yes, technology is needed. There is no doubt about it. But we have to plan about how it is going to be instituted, implemented, and so on and so forth. Now for the question part that you asked me about, what is our ideal university, and we are talking about Vishwa Guru. And I was in Bhopal, my own hometown, day before yesterday. I went and saw a small institution there. What has happened in the last a decade or so, that a pride of being an Indian has been kindled. We have all started feeling that so that Vishwa Guru has actually gone into our own soul, all of us. I can report this to you that I saw this in children from villages in that Sharda ashram that I had gone and visited. So the future university for me, firstly, what will be this future university? This future university will be Sarva Bhutam, Sarva Vyapi. Anywhere you stand is the university. Anyone who is connected is the student. Anyone who can offer knowledge is the teacher. Anyone who can tell you you're not going correct is the evaluator. This university will be truly all-pervasive, and this can only happen with the Indian knowledge system. And Indian knowledge system, so I saw this in this place, that a day should start with prayers. Whatever you do, it is not about religion. Prayer is only connecting yourself to the supernatural and realizing that there are blessings that you have received. And in the end also you close it with a prayer. And then whole day before, Purv chalne ke batohi baat ki pehchan kar le. What I want to do is something that you decide because the stage is set. So this university will let the student, as the General Secretary of AIU was saying, stitch your own degree. In fact, you do whatever you feel like doing. So this university will be anytime, anywhere, any place, by anyone, for anyone. This university will be also what I want, whenever I want, howsoever I want, and so on and so forth. And third aspect of this university will be that balance that we had been talking about, you had been talking about contribution versus consumption. I mean, this balance sheet we have to keep correct. Am I contributing more than I am consuming? And I think the future universities will actually be living this particular thought. So it will be all pervasive, anytime, anywhere, anything that you want from whosoever you want. And whatever you do, let your balance sheet be okay. Your contribution has to be more than your consumption.
What a beautiful thought. We'll do a round of applause for that, Professor Rai. Very utopian. And I hope, sir, you can take it to our regulators, because we would love to do it, but I think somewhere regulation will come in. I hope in the next 3 to 5 years, regulators will also understand the need to give more autonomy, because I think somewhere autonomy will be needed to create and paint such a vision that you have. We were talking about regulation. We'll come to that in a second, sir. You spoke about faculty and you spoke about resistance to change, and I'm going to come to you, Professor Verma, on that. Again, a belief many of us have, and I definitely have this deep belief, and there might be some faculty over here sitting, that faculty that does not change to the new technologies that exist, to the new pedagogies that are going to come in, or to the new ways of thinking that Professor Rai and the others have been talking about, they will cease to exist. We've already seen that, by the way, in engineering education. I remember 15 years ago, we could not find quality mechanical engineers to teach mechanical engineering. Today, if you're a PhD in mechanical engineering, your life is pretty much doomed if you have not changed to something more exciting, because there are no jobs, there are no students who want to study traditional mechanical engineering, for example. And this could hit every part of the value chain or every part of different subjects. So my question to you, Professor Verma, is how do we ensure that there is change management with faculty? How do we train faculty? But more importantly, how do we make them aware about the need for them to change so that they can become better teachers, they can become and provide better learning to students going forward? So that's my question to you, and also the type of stuff that you're doing in your university to make such a change happen.
Thank you. Since morning, we have been hearing what the technology can bring in to the education sector. Actually, education sector is the biggest sector with almost about 50,000 colleges, 1,500 universities, and a cadre of 15 lakhs, almost 15 lakhs teachers. And the way the technology has been changing so fast in last about a decade, there is a lag between the education and the technology. The technology coming to education is taking a lot of time because it is changing at so much speed. So, if you look at the challenges which this new emerging technologies have created for the teaching faculty, I will put it on 4 factors. One is that just in the morning, Mr. Shah said that out of the startups, 50% is credited to the IITs and IIMs. That itself reveals what kind of requirement is there for the university, which is in 2-tier and 3-tier cities and 2-tier and 3-tier institutes. The first requirement is the capacity building of the faculty. Such large faculty, you really need the capacity building. And the new education policy, National Education Policy 20, which demands that the quality education should be at the core. We should revert back to the Gurukul system. With the current trend, almost the classical university or Gurukul is disappearing onto a virtual platform. That is a threatening thing for the 2-tier and 3-tier universities and colleges. So I think instead of going straightway for autonomy, which is the course being taken, because we have seen 3 years and nothing much has been implemented in these 2-tier and 3-tier cities. So some kind of hand-holding is required for training these teachers. Faculty development program, which are being done in old pattern, will not hold good now. Now, with technology taking the center space, I think the industries will have to take a very, very active participation in the capacity building in the universities. So, in our group of universities, we have gone ahead with many corporates to open their center in our campus. Like we have Daikin, we have Lucas, we have Microsoft, Tata. So they have opened a center, and we are trying to build capacity of the faculty as well, students and faculty, uh, with the direct participation of the industries.
Thank you very much, sir. And I want to pick this one up, and we'll probably just spend one minute more before we open up to the audience. I do want to have an audience round, so please, 1 minute. Very quickly, because we spoke about entrepreneurship, and I think Mr. Shah spoke about startups. And I want to leave one statistic with all of you. So we all know that universities are catalysts for trading ecosystem for startups. That's, I think, known everywhere in the world. But let me share a statistic with all of you. If you look at Silicon Valley, just Stanford and UC Berkeley together, in 2024, startups from these two universities got investments of $110 billion in 2022. $110 billion in 2022, just two universities. The total FDI into India was around $80 billion. So just compare two universities' investments from startups getting way more investments than just the FDI of India. Do you think Indian universities can do something similar? 1 minute answer from you, Professor Raman.
The answer to this is yes, after a partnership with the industry would be needed, because the kind of funding that we are looking at, we at our university have already tried, we call it runway. So we said it will not be just an incubator. So we said it will be an incubator plus accelerator, which is the runway. As we speak, we are incubating actively more than 85 companies. And one request that I made to all these companies was two things. One is that I will not be too excited when it's yet another app. It has to actually be a real thing. And therefore, in the area of water harvesting, water farming, and so on and so forth, there are experiences coming up. And second thing is about it has to be done in an Indian way. And the Indian way is the most economic way, because we cannot have first capital and then we try and have a success. We have to have both, either in parallel or ideally speaking, success first and then capital infusion. And therefore, Indian universities, of course, only thing is they have to start believing in. We still have to change this whole mindset of trying to place students. We should try and create industries from students.
Start believing in startups. And a question to you, Professor Jaiswal, is I'm sure there are lots and lots of startups coming out of IIM Sambalpur. So what are specifically 3 initiatives that you're taking to bring in a culture of entrepreneurship inside IIM Sambalpur? You can keep it to 1 minute.
So, of course, every institution, including IIM Sambalpur, has an incubation center. But, when it comes to students, hardly anybody is interested to take up this as their profession. Everybody is looking for jobs. And it is nothing to do with education systems. It is to do with the Indian systems of our society. Because we still have a British legacy. Everybody wants to be servant, whether it's a district collector you want to become, or you want to become a servant of the multinationals. That's a mindset. And we are saying that let's change and become district taxpayer rather than district collector. That will take some time, but that is the line I think we have to educate to entire masses. And let the ownership be driven, not servant-driven the country. We are still driven by the servants, so-called bureaucrats, so-called multinational servants. They're actually servants, and they're driving the economy, they're driving the country. Owners have still not come. I think miles to go. I'm sure Indian education has to initiate some
change culture. about. So I'm going to switch the topic from entrepreneurship to inclusiveness, because that's what you spoke about. And I think that's a great thought, sustainability and inclusiveness. Uh, Again, very quickly, sir, 3 things that you're doing in your university for the efforts around sustainability and things that we can do apart from technology, of course.
Let me switch over to your subject first before sustainability. You know, what is happening when we say that IITs, IIMs have startups, we forget that what they have behind it. One, they have infrastructure. Two, they have funds. And infrastructure and funds, if Shoolini is having, or Shobhit is having, or UPI is having, the same boys can do more. Because in IIT, I always say whenever they invite me, not very frequently, but whenever, I always say cream is coming in and cream is going out. So the role of the institution is limited. Just a good wrapping agency, I'm sorry, Professor. But in our universities and institutions, toned milk is coming. Out of the toned milk, 20% is becoming a cream, 20% is becoming full milk, rest is going better than what they were. So we have to see the impact and the outcome, the result. This is one thing. When entrepreneurship is there, it is inclusive also. At Shobhit, we decided that instead of having just an incubation center or a startup culture for our own student, we realized that there are many other students, youth in the vicinity, those who need a platform. They are coming from schools, they are coming from colleges where it is not there. So what we did, we started a SEIZ. SEZ we all know about, it is Accelerator for Business. SEIZ is a Skill Entrepreneurship Innovation Zone. And what we say that whenever we are not using our infrastructure, whenever our professors, our teachers, seniors, anybody is available, you come with your idea to us and we will give you a platform, we will give you our facilities, we'll provide you an opportunity to see and do what you wish to do. The students are coming from small villages.
3 things on inclusiveness. Sorry, I'm
So it is so inclusive. I do not think that more inclusiveness is required. Generally, what is happening, my doors are closed, my walls are high, and I am doing and claiming I am doing so much. Thank you, Professor Jaiswal, for mentioning this thing, that we have a mindset, नौकर बनना दुनिया में सबसे आसान है और सभी लोग नौकर बनना चाहते हैं. और जहां तक इंक्लूसिवनेस की बात है, हजारों ख्वाहिश है ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश को दम निकले.
क्या बात.
जब ये NEP आया था, हमें भी लगा था बहुत सारी चीजें हम करेंगे, लेकिन उसे करने के पीछे वी डू नॉट नीड ह्यूज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स ऑफ सर्टेन इंस्टीट्यूशन. We need an inclusive distribution of the resources. I'm advocating from this platform also, I will say that thing. I wish that there has to be a knowledge grid in this country where I can go to any institution that when you are not using your infrastructure, please provide it to my students. I can go to IITs, I can go to IIM, they can come to me, schools can come to me, and then this knowledge grid will change, because there is a study from Harvard which says that optimum utilization of academic infrastructure is around 26% only.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's not even 26 if you look at the use of capital, but what a beautiful thought. So we have Ravi here. Welcome, Ravi. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Just 2 thoughts over here, sir. One is cream is not always healthy. I think toned milk is in vogue. So you can do magic with toned milk. And I'm going to just mention over here that we've been working, my students have been working on a tech stack, and we've just got a valuation of these students have got a valuation of 100 crores post money on the tech stack they've built. So great work can happen in an environment which is less of resources. In fact, innovation happens when you have less resources, not when you have large number of resources. But great thoughts. I think inclusiveness is where the future is going to be. Last question to Professor Verma, and I'm not going to ask you any question from you, but 1 minute of last thoughts to summarize this discussion, but only 60 seconds, Professor Verma. You're the eldest of us too.
This is this is asking to sum up the entire this discussion in 1 minute is, I will put it only 3 words. One is the technology is going to play a big role, and the universities have to gear up to use that technology. And in that, one should not lose the touch of the humanity. So that is the biggest responsibility, I think, with the universities and teachers, that the human part is not lost, and which is being threatened by the new technology. ABCD is leading the technology, that is artificial intelligence, blockchain, and data and clouds, which is actually separating the people from people. आजकल लोग चिलमन में खो गए हैं, पर्देदारी लौट के आई है मोबाइल के रूप में. तो that is there, that human touch is a big responsibility with the university. The inclusiveness with the society, we have adopted about 10 villages, and our students work in these villages, is one of the part of the inclusiveness which we have created.
Thank you, Professor Verma. So very clearly you're talking about values. I'm going to end this discussion and then open it up to probably 2 questions from the audience if you have any. I think what's also important is belief, the belief that we can make the change happen. The change happen in our communities. The change happen to make great universities. The change happen to follow the Indian knowledge system. The change happen to bring in and adopt great technologies. And in Shah Rukh Khan's words, किसी भी चीज को दिल जान से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात उसको आपसे मिलाने में लग जाती है. Let's go out, adapt technology extremely well, include the people around, make sure that communities develop, get everyone around in terms of values, and make sure that we build best practices like what you've done at IIM Sambalpur. Thank you very much, and I'll open it up to any questions if anyone of you has. That's the question at the back, please. Please introduce yourself. No comments, only a question.
Good talk. I am Dr. Mandeep Kaur from Department of Psychology, the University of Delhi. So I have 2 questions. One question is on talking about startups. So I have seen that many startups have got failed. Like, this is my personal experience when I am talking to the students. So are we doing something to, give some survival rates to these startups, because they start with very huge motivation, but somewhere we are not preparing them to kind of survive in the market, so they fail. Second question is to Professor Rai, when he's talking about the autonomy to choose, the courses. So my question is that students find themselves directionless because there are information overload of, there are too many choices for them. How to deal with that? What is your
I didn't catch your name, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Dr. Mandeep Kaur from Department of Psychology.
So I'll answer the first one. I have sort of been a serial entrepreneur, so I'll answer your question. I think startups have to fail by definition, and people who learn from failures are the ones who will succeed. So I'm just coming out of a meeting before I came here where I was talking to a unicorn, and there were 3 co-founders there, and all the 3 of them had at least 2 failures before they ended up building the unicorn. So if you're not ready for failure, then continue to be the knocker, as we heard, sir. So failure is going to be part of the ecosystem of startups. But over to you, Professor Rai, for the second question around autonomy.
I think this generation has learned how to deal with information and information overload. So that problem really we did not face. Many times this generation feels that these people don't know where to go and things like that. But I would like to report, I think the best thing that has happened to our nation that we got the finest youth in the world. So it's not only just by quantity, as Shah Sahab mentioned in the morning, it's also the quality. We have the best youth in the world. I can vouch for it. And which is why, of course, yes, there has to be a system which we had created before you go and ask for a particular subject. We actually ask them to, there is a subject we have created. It's called School for Life, where we do this subject. The first subject there is finding your purpose in life. Now, if you find your purpose in life, rest everything follows. And the good part is that the youth really, with all the only thing, their ways are different. So please believe in the youth, and once they are left to themselves, they do find the way.
Believe
so
in the
information
youth.
is not a
I
problem.
think Sir wants to say something about the belief.
Yeah, about the startups, I would like to say, like purpose is there, process is there generally, people are also there. But the most important thing, what has to be seen, that what values it is bringing back to the society. 99% startup, I meet young boys and girls, they say, I want to have a startup, then funding, and then quit. So
There
the
was
moment
a-
you start with quit, then failure starts.
Absolutely. And, I'm going to quote Jeff Bezos over here, who once said that there are two types of entrepreneurs, the missionaries and the mercenaries. The missionaries are the one who work for a purpose, and the mercenaries work for money. And he says that the illogical part is the missionaries are actually the one who end up making the money. So the purpose becomes very important, like you said, sir. One last question, the lovely lady. So we can have two questions. Okay, one question for you and one for you. That's it. And we'll do a quick
Hi,
answer.
I'm Smriti Sharma and I'm from Wisdom Circle. So earlier today at the inaugural session, Dr. Shashank Shah mentioned that 50% of the unicorn startups have been produced by IITs and IIMs. Again, it comes down to resources, networks, those incubators and hackathons and everything. So what can we do to change that for other universities that are, say, located in Himachal or in Bihar or in Saharanpur? So how can we make those resources available for other universities?
Yeah, sir will take it, but I think sir spoke about inclusiveness, culture.
I'll just,
But I'll have Professor Raj.
just a comment on that, since I'm IITian myself, and the successes which have come out from IITs and IIMs is not because of the resources or the tag of IIT or IIM. It's because of the belief system. The belief system that those students have got into it. And that I give it to the faculty, not more than the faculty, the fellow students who actually make them believe. And this is what you have to have one success in your institution. The biggest company in the EVs is Blue Smart, and Blue Smart happens to be the company by the first alumni of the first batch of UPES. Okay, so it is just the belief system. It is not infrastructure and resources.
Absolutely. और फाइटर बनना बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है. और IITs आपको फाइटर बनाते हैं. एक एड होती थी, फाइटर ही हमेशा जीतता है. So let's make fighters out of our students. Last question.
I would like to put. Actually, my university is in Bhopal, and we have a incubation center, and we have almost about 80 startups from there. One thing which I have found with these startups are that what you need for a startup is what he said was the failures is also important, because Edison invented a bulb only after 1,000 failures. So one is that, but the essential thing is the idea and a mentor. That is a must for a startup. A good idea and a
universities will provide. Last question, sir.
Sir, myself Kuldeep Bartaria, and I have my academy, Sriji Academy, that is for IIT, JEE and NEET, and I am a former assistant professor. Since last 10 years, I have seen one major problem, that is the gap between academia and the institution. And there are two players. One is academic institutions.
Please. We're coming to the end.
Sir, what are the steps can be taken by the institution and by organization or industry to fulfill this gap? And how can we make aware the students that they can, everyone say that if we talking about the tier 2 institution, they say that we will provide the 100%
industry,
placement.
academia.
Sir, please, sir. 1 minute. They say that we provide 100% placement. How can we make aware of the student that you should learn yourself and you don't search the job, you just provide the job? How can we make the mind of a student in that way? Everyone,
Lovely.
हर एक
Thank
कोई ये
you.
कहता है
Thank
ना,
you,
जब
Kuldeep ji.
स्टूडेंट्स यदि मैं
I
एक
got your
सामान्य
question.
कॉलेज की बात कर रहा हूँ तो
आपके
सर एक
क्वेश्चन
सेकंड
हमें
जरा.
समझ में आ गया. Please, thank you very much. I'm so sorry. I think what you're asking is two things. One is industry academia, which is a very big topic. हमने कम से कम 10 तो हमने की होंगी इसके ऊपर panels. And second is how do you make students aware about how do they become aware of the great jobs which are around. So probably you can take this for 30 seconds, sir, before we close.
Academy and industry, when we talk about what relations we have with the industry generally, are we giving them some solutions? No. We are asking them for placements. So it is not a very organic relationship as of now, but I'm happy that many of the universities have taken up now. Now consultancy is happening. It was happening in IITs, IIMs, in private one also. A lot of things are happening. MSMEs are coming now to the universities, and the scenario is changing. You know, you have to have a very organic relationship if you really wish to grow together, do something together. And if we talk about that, how we can say to the students that belief system, what Professor Rai is pitching again and again and again, yes, I can do it. And this yes, I can do it, starts from an individual empowered in an institution and goes to the industry.
So let's end this discussion by saying, yes, we can do it. Yes, I can do it. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, all the panelists. I think they all deserve a big round of applause from all of you. And a great audience. And thank you, Ravi, for making this happen. Thank you.